back. This is the first episode of the third season of Tech Talk. Me, Mark, Edward.
Bye.
Hold on a minute. I gotta shut somebody's mouth down. I've got one of the channels are actually playing. I have no idea. Oh shit. Okay. I think I have no idea where that's coming from.
Is it on your end?
Oh, okay. It's D Live.
Okay.
Freaking D Live, the bastards. Okay, D Live. Okay, so I've got it straightened out. Sorry about that. I don't know if it showed up in the videos or not. It actually started out good, but then freaking D Live had to screw it all up for us. Thanks, D Live. But anyhow, this is the third season of Tech Talk, and today we have Mark Edworthy, me, and Mr. Robot coming in. You guys want to say hi again?
Hello, folks.
Hi again.
Okay. So, does anybody have any idea what it is we're going to be talking about today?
You mentioned something about Alphabet, but apart from that, Alphabet Inc. Apart from that, we haven't got a clue.
Also known as the evil Google company.
Right, the evil Google company. Now, see, this was going to be episode 2 because Tanhai Tran wanted to do another topic, but because Tanhai Tran bailed out on us the horrible way that he did without any prior notice or anything of that nature, we've had to go to episode 2 instead of episode 1, which was going to be the first episode for Tech Talk. So, with that, we are on episode 1 using episode 2's topic. Does any of that make sense, guys?
Yeah, that's sort of.
So, since we are talking about Alphabet Inc., I figured that would have been the best way to say it or start this episode. So, with Google or Alphabet Inc., the one thing that really stood out to me is this new Google DeepMind that they're coming out with, and I was wanting to start out maybe going in that direction and see what you guys think about it.
Can I just lay some groundwork on like the origin story a little
Yeah.
bit?
Yeah.
All right. So Google's journey started at Stanford University as a research project, beginning in 1996, created by doctoral students Larry Page and Sergey Brin. Larry Page was from Lansing, Michigan, and Brin was born in 1973 in Moscow, Russia. They met at Stanford and discovered their shared interest in organizing and retrieving useful information from large data sets. Initially, the two reportedly didn't get along very well, but they found common ground in their academic pursuits. Basically, they started an initial company called Backrub. That's what Google was called initially. And when they basically one of the guys developed an algorithm for organizing pages, ranking algorithms and stuff like that, analyzing backlinks. And then Backrub's search engine grew rapidly after its launch. By August 1996, just 5 months after beginning to index websites, Backrub had already cataloged 75 million pages, occupying 207 gigabytes. of these 30 million were HTML pages, with the remainder consisting primarily of email addresses. They outgrew their Stanford servers and moved into. Oh, that's when they, in 1997, they renamed the back rub to Google, which was chosen as a play on words for Google, which refers to a number that is 1 followed by 100 zeros, basically saying how infinite the amount of information on the web is. However, Google.com was registered in 1997. However, Google Inc. was officially established as a company on September 4th, 1998, when Page and Brin filed the necessary documentation. The company's initial headquarters was set up in a friend's garage in Menlo Park, California. Susan Wojcicki, I can't say her last name. Wojcicki something.
Yeah.
Who would later become a senior executive at Google, rented her garage to the founders after they outgrew their Stanford servers. The initial funding and business model. The fledgling company secured its first significant investment from Andy Berchtolsheim, vice president at Cisco Systems, who wrote a check for $100,000 to Google Inc. before the company was even officially formed. This initial funding was followed by investments from prominent venture capitalist firms, which helped the startup grow rapidly. From the beginning, Google distinguished itself from competitors through the minimalist user interface and intuitive business approach. The company developed a revenue model based on targeted advertisements, which eventually evolved into the highly profitable AdWords platform. And the rest is history. They took over YouTube. YouTube sold out to them. Their own browser, their maps, Chrome browser, all those other spawn-off companies. By 2015, Google had grown into numerous diverse ventures, ranging from self-driving cars to healthcare research. This diversification posed organizational challenges and potentially diluted focus from the core business. To address these issues, the major corporate restructuring was announced in August 10, 2015. Google co-founder and then CEO Larry Page announced that the plan was to create a new holding company called Alphabet Inc. This restructuring was formalized on October 2, 2015, with Alphabet becoming the parent company of Google and several former Google subsidiaries. I think I'll leave it there for now.
Okay, yeah. I was going to comment there, but you mentioned Alphabet in relation to that. I did see a interesting video just yesterday, or day before yesterday, actually. I was thinking about creating a post out of in relation to Google's competition in relation to what was that, Alta Vista, and the history of online search engines, and how the earlier online search engines were only searching things like meta tags, so the titles of web pages and like you said, email addresses and various other meta tags, and it wasn't until something like 95 or 96 until search engines were actually searching for the content of the page.
Really?
Sergey Brin's research was supported by grants from the National Security Agency, NSA, and CIA through the Massive Digital Data Systems Initiative. Google's founders, Larry Page and Sergey Brin, did acknowledge that funding from the National Science Foundation and DARPA for their work through that digital library initiative. So there was a bit of intelligence funding going on there in the early days, and probably later on too.
But also, they got a lot of funding from CERN.
The CIA's venture arm In-Q-Tel was involved in funding Keyhole Inc., a company that Google later acquired. Keyhole's technology became the basis for Google Earth. So, yeah.
Now, Google Earth, when exactly was it that Google Earth came out?
Let me find out. Google Earth was established in 2001 in Mountain View, California. Google acquired Keyhole in 2004 and rebranded Earth Viewer as Google Earth, releasing it to the public in 2005.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so not that long ago, 20 years ago now, I guess.
Well, Facebook came out in 2005 too, didn't they?
2005, 2006.
I mean, if I'm correct, that's when they came out.
It was about there. 2004.
Okay.
2004. February 4, 2004 was when it was launched.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's there's a lot of such things going on around that.
Launched as a public entity or still as a university, internal university project?
But yeah, that supposedly also got some intelligence funding from the start, from what I remember. That was from Harvard, Mark Zuckerberg.
So Harvard actually was the ones that did that then, is what you're saying.
He was studying at Harvard. It was originally called the Facebook, not Facebook. But yeah, why did you want me to find out who funded it?
Yeah, actually, that would actually be.
It's funded by an IPO. Sure, it was funded by an IPO, which was overly priced IPO.
Facebook's initial seed funding came from Peter Thiel. Remember Peter Thiel, the co-founder of PayPal, who invested $500,000 in the summer of 2004. This was a significant outside investment in Facebook, securing Thiel a 10.2% stake in the company. Thiel's investment was facilitated by Sean Parker, who had recently joined Facebook as its president. Other early investors included Reid Hoffman and Morris Werdiger, who participated in the same funding round through Western Technology Investment. There are no direct claims of funding for Facebook through intelligence. However, some conspiracy theories suggest indirect connections through venture capitalist firms. For example, SL Partners, which led Facebook's Series A funding in 2005 with a $12.7 million investment, has been linked to the CIA through its partner James Breyer's connections. Breyer was on the board of BBN Technologies, a company that worked with In-Q-Tel, the CIA's venture capital arm. So all these things are linked.
Sorry, Facebook was also when I was at the IPO. It was its initial public offering was in 2012 at $38 per share, which at the time was argued to be over priced. I remember big arguments in the business world arguing that it was really the initial share price was ridiculously overly priced.
Well, I think the CIA thing is a big issue too there. So, I mean, there we go. There we go. I got it. Look at that. You see that cool new freaking picture I made up? Look at that. What do you guys think? You like that?
Makes you look a lot taller than me.
Well, you're sitting down, see.
Okay.
You're sitting down. Now, what do you think, guys?
In the Matrix.
Yes, that
You
would
look
be.
like you're creeping up on it.
No,
Yeah, it looks a bit.
no.
Yeah.
Well, see, if I left it the way it was before, then I could actually move myself over to the side a little bit, but I was wanting to leave space for Tan. I figured.
Also, are you bleeding into my arm?
No, I'm
Looks
not.
like you're bleeding into my shoulder. Oh,
Actually, I do have to make that adjustment a little bit better. So let me go ahead and do that. That's actually better because now you don't see the black part. It just kind of like goes. No, it doesn't. It does not work, does it? So let me go ahead. Now, the whole history behind freaking Google just literally just bored the shit out of me, to be honest with you. When it comes to like that part, that's not really cool. What's cool, if you ask me, is that the part where Alphabet came up with or the humanism, the human what's that humanism? Now I'm having a brain fart. Transhumanism.
okay.
Okay, now is it true? Do you know? Does the co-founder believe in transhumanism, Mr.
To
Robot?
what? To what sort of?
I think he's in the middle of class.
He's got the company has been interested in the concepts,
Okay, now
for some time.
Now the thing about it is though that gets me about the whole thing with transhumanism is that this new deep mind that they're getting involved in when it comes to
You say new DeepMind. DeepMind's been around for some time.
well it's
Um,
or what's
I
some time to you because like I mean to be honest it's
back when we were talking about it the other day, I did mention the scandal in relation. I found it in 2010. I did mention the scandal between the British NHS and Google DeepMind back in 2015.
It was founded in 2010 and was acquired by Google in 2014 for £400,000. For £400 million, sorry.
It was founded by Alphabet Inc. Technically, it's a British American artificial intelligence research laboratory, but there's much more than that.
It's an intelligence research company, artificial intelligence research company, and it's a subsidiary of Alphabet Inc.
Mm.
And Alphabet Inc. is supposed to be the parent company of Google.
Yeah, so it's trading as Google DeepMind, but technically it is directly owned by Alphabet rather than being a subsidiary of a subsidiary.
Now, with DeepMind, they said they've had like groundbreaking work in like deep learning and reinforcement learning. Have you guys ever heard of reinforcement learning?
The concept, I sort of parrot light learning, I think we used to call it.
How did you say that?
Parrot.
Palette.
Parrot as in
Oh, parrot.
bird, yeah.
Okay. Now, it's a type of machine learning where, like, the agent learns how to make decisions by interacting with like the environment and receiving feedback in the form of like rewards and penalties. You know what I mean? So like if you turn around and if you're playing games, okay, you get a reward for something that you do within the game. You know what I mean? It's a interactive, and and one thing that stands out to me is like a lot of these new commercials where you put an app on your phone, and if you're fat and you want to lose weight,
Mm.
You get that app and you'll get rewarded through cash for the amount of weight that you lose. You know what I'm saying? That's what it really
Yeah.
sticks out to me.
Eh, It's history of medical records is questionable because, like I said, in 2015, I told you about this the other day. In 2015, the UK government, I think it was under Cameron's, so Conservative, at the time, gave the public an option to not allow their records to be shared with DeepMind, and it was a very poorly advertised. It was a very badly advertised campaign, and only lasted for something like a month or something. People, myself, actually opted into the campaign. To refuse my records from being shared with DeepMind, and the UK government afterwards ignored those that campaign and gave 1.6 million public records without the public's consent, without the user patient's consent.
Mhm. It's just like they've also got something called Retina Net, and it's a deep learning algorithm that helps detect early signs of diabetic retinopathy
Yeah.
and age-related muscular degeneration. Now they've got that set up too through Alphabet Inc., where they're actually doing that, um, uh, and they're using
It's all. It's also been suggested, and I don't think there's any actual concrete evidence of this, or at least public available evidence that they had ignored U.S. HARPA laws,
yeah.
so they could potentially have your medical records as well.
Well, I know they're also doing it like in things when it comes to like acute kidney injuries and stuff like
Mm.
that. They're developing AI models that can predict the risk of AKI, whatever the hell that is.
Right.
Oh, acute kidney injury. Yeah, that's
Okay.
what.
Yeah.
Yes, and
Um,
in
it's
hospitalized patients.
also rumored that they are working with the Blair Foundation in relation to the so-called identity certificates, the identity applications.
Yeah. Well, here in the United States, we have uh, this mobile health thing. They call it Streams,
Mm.
and it's a partnership with the health services that they.
Yeah, potentially violating, like I said, potentially violating U.S. Harper laws.
Mhm. And
Law.
that's what they're using it for, is that kidney disease. According to them, it's to help doctors monitor and manage patients with kidney diseases. And I don't know. I mean, for me, I find that kind of disturbing that they're, because like especially when it comes to, have you ever heard of what's his name? He's Kakamaru, whatever his name is. He's the scientist, the Asian scientist that's always talking about things of the future. Um,
Futurist,
yeah,
futurology.
it's, Michio Kaku is who it is. He came out with a really good documentary where he was talking about some of the things that they were going to have uh, in the future. And this one thing, it was about where, like, say you get up in the morning and you go to the bathroom, you go and pee in the toilet. They're going to have sensors set up in the toilet to where it detects what's in your urine.
This was suggested by, I think it was the Labour minister a couple of years ago in the UK. Oh no, it was suggested by the NHS in the UK, but it was sort of ridiculed. It was sort of treated as a joke more than anything. Um, um, because of things like privacy laws in this, data protection laws in this country, and also cost as well.
Well,
Just costs, and also and other issues such as if you got a home with one main toilet, and you've got, let's say, your wife and your 2.4 children, you all using the same toilet, then how is that data going to be managed? How
well,
is that data recorded?
with the whole setup and the way they're talking about, like, you're going to go out and you're going to choose your insurance company. Okay, so your insurance company is going to be the one that's regulating if
Yeah, as far as the US concerned, but
now
in countries that have more socialist sort of healthcare, such as the UK, insurance companies are not.
well, that's even worse.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
That's not really a good example. Like, you were getting ready to say it was going to be something better. That's actually even worse, dude. Like, because
Precisely, it's the, yeah. You can see the complications.
yeah, because like if you're set up on a socialist plan where they know exactly what's uh, being put into your body and the health that you're into, then like they can just cut you off. Say, look, man, if you don't behave and start living right, then you're not going to get any health care. So you get.
I actually,
That's
yeah,
exactly where they want to take it.
I
It's
actually
all
was
about control.
Hold on.
watching two videos today in relation to, I think it's only been suggested by 40 Labour ministers in the UK within the last couple of days, to look at identification applications and identification certificates, and looking at it from a sort of Chinese sort of sesame sort of concept. So you'll be regulated on what you eat, where you go, potentially sooner or later what you think, even.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, and we see in China at this present moment, if you post anti sort of CCP material on the internet, then or any sort of on any sort of communication form, you could potentially have rights such as your travel rights or your rights to access supermarkets removed or
Yeah.
limited, restricted.
I mean, for me, well, actually, Robot was talking. So, Mr. Robot, you wanna chime in? I know you was getting ready to say something. I apologize.
Yeah, basically, I just think the less they know about us as individuals, the safer we are. I'm all happy if there is like local processing of your your critical information, but as soon as you start trusting various third party companies with, you know, how your body works, how your mind works, what you're taking, all that stuff, it becomes a potential vector for um, attack or control or so many different things that you could do to someone. You know what I mean? So that's basically what I wanted to say. I think there is a general push for us to give out more information to the governments and to, you know, transnational corporations and stuff like that. And I think it's a dangerous trend, to be honest.
No,
And then sorry, just something else that came up. When you think about the sort of push to central bank digital currencies, um, this becomes even more of a nightmare because you do something that the government doesn't approve, you say something that the government doesn't approve, you go somewhere that the government doesn't approve of, you eat something that the government doesn't approve of, you could have your income reduced
yep.
or even removed.
And that right there, I believe, is what the real biggest threat is. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Mm.
when it comes to when it comes to actually do having all this technology, and it could benefit, but at the same time, the same things that you think are benefiting you is actually turning you into, well, I mean, a puppet. They can lead you around like a leash, like a dog on a leash. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's really the best way I can explain it. Whenever I,
When I was watching these videos earlier, the old Benjamin Franklin quote, um, um, those who give up essential liberty for safety deserve neither liberty or safety. But I put a small spin on it. Those who give up essential liberty for convenience should not.
It always gets sold to us like it's for our benefit or for our
Yeah,
safety, or, you know, and
or
the
convenience.
way
Or,
that
yeah.
technology is developing now, it's just so rapid that we tend to implement things, and then if it goes wrong, we fix it later. You know what I mean? Like so many toxins in our food or um, in our medicines and stuff like that. Things go wrong just because we pushed it through too quickly without having public debate about it, or considering how it can affect this far into the future, stuff like that. And then you get on top of that companies that are like just blatantly nefarious. There's technologies that can turn a sound into a way to entrain your brain into thinking and feeling certain things. There are phones, for example, that can emit, or like monitors as well, that can emit frequencies that entrain your brain to be in a certain state of mind, whether it's more relaxed in a trance-like state, or more alert, or in fear. There's so many different ways you can like hack the human body these days. And I think it was actually one of the Google guys that started talking about that. It was either him or that Havari guy, talking about how humans are totally hackable nowadays, and in the future, we'll be able to completely hack humans.
The most obvious concept of this that we see these days, or rather smell these days, is shops just giving out aromas, artificial aromas. So you walk past a bakery and there's an artificial smell bread being made, or you walk past a supermarket and there's an artificial smell of coffee brewing. That's probably the most obvious usage of this concept that is being used at this present moment.
Now, I've heard, I don't know if it's true or not, but I've heard that they have a machine that can actually smell now. And I used to joke around and call it the fart machine, because like you can actually it can smell odors. So it doesn't it doesn't surprise me that they can like fabricate these odors and produce it out of thin air either. You know what I mean? But for me, I think I would rather smell artificial odors than to have insurance companies or governments dictating to me if I can or can't have um, insurance, because I I don't or I'm eating unhealthy, you know what I mean? Or I go out the night before and forget that I have to freaking have a checkup done, and I drank too much alcohol. And of course, there's sensors on my toothbrush, and there's sensors on the toilet, and there's sensors on the this and that to detect what it is that I've got in my system. You know what I mean?
And the other issue in relation to this is that it's not open for the free. It's not using free market ideology. We're sort of seeing a sort of technocratical sort of kleptology sort of thing, where you've got a few companies are interested in all of this, and they are making deals with governments. I mean, it was only recently that, in fact, I think it's only been in the last 2 days that the information in relation to the Labour government in the UK and having meetings with BlackRock, and we're seeing people like the Gates Foundation, or is it still the Gates and Melinda Foundation or whatever, but the Gates Foundation, Bill Gates, having meetings with governments and trying to force issues as far as farmers are concerned. So reducing sort of independent farmers and forcing governments into, like I said, reducing farmers and creating sort of big agricultural sort of projects around in the large corporations.
Yeah.
So we're seeing a sort of, I don't know, technocratic sort of communism, in fact.
Tech, tech,
And
uh, technocracy is also another term that's been used
yeah,
in recent years, and I mean that to me, from what I've heard about it, it sounds like a form of communism. To be honest,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
exactly
yeah.
what it is. You know, we would like this up and down. Like dislike shit. You know what I mean? If you let this go on too far, that's exactly the way this world's going to work. It's where other people's opinion of you is going to determine where your status in the world is going to be. You know what I mean? The people with more likes are going to be higher up than they're going to be the elites, where the person who doesn't have the likes are going to be down here at the bottom. You know what I mean? They're going to be the lower class.
And as we saw with the recent pandemic, um, the old trust the experts thing, trust the experts who are getting paid by the corporations to shield weather products or shield medical products. Um, and anybody who disagrees with these so-called experts were conspiracy theorists.
Yep. Now, have you ever heard of a game called Go?
The Chinese checkers type thing.
How about you, Mr. Robot? Have you heard of it?
Yeah, I've never played it, but I know about it. Yeah, it's kind of it's meant to be more complex than chess.
Yeah,
Um, but
And,
yeah, AlphaGo was based around like mastering that game, right?
yeah. And
The early work.
AlphaGo actually beat Lee Sedol. He was the freaking world champion for Go, and he actually beat him in 2016. So um, that that was one of the most interesting things right there when AlphaGo was, and now that is actually a part of the DeepMind uh, DeepMind projects that was going on with AlphaGo, and I find that's kind of interesting. And they say that it's supposed to be more complex than what chess is. And I remember back in the day, whenever freaking they had the chess match between the computer and the world chess champion, where it had beaten the world chess champion, and that was supposed to be a big deal, you know. Um, so whenever I found that out about that, that kind of got me to wondering if maybe um, AI in reality is kind of what stems off of that, because I know I know that that was what their big goal was when it came to making that chess program. There's a movie out called Down the Rabbit Hole, and
anybody who plays chess will recognize engines such as Stockfish, which is a well pattern recognition artificial intelligence, if we want to call it an artificial intelligence. And Stockfish has been in development for many, many years now, probably 2, maybe 3 decades now. And yeah, it's the sort of go-to. Oh, I hate using the term artificial intelligence, but it's the go-to artificial intelligence for chess.
that's something else. Now, the thing of it is too is like that the system that they brought or they created back, I think it was back in the 90s or the 80s when they did it, but that wasn't like a generic program that you get when you go on to a server to play chess or anything. Just so everybody who's watching understands, like this was a complex system. You know what I mean? So don't think of it as like the same thing that you find when you go on and you want to play the computer whenever you want to play chess. That's not what I'm talking about. Like this was a very, very complex strategic program that was made so that it could try to beat the chess champion. You know what I mean? That's what's going on here with AlphaGo too. This isn't like just an average AI program. This is a
I just checked. Stockfish was created in 2008, originally created, and I think it's at version 17 now.
you know. So
So it's a massive development.
and
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
kind of what gets me is that actually what's going on there when it comes to this supposed AI, or is this something new? You know what I mean? This artificial intelligence, is it actually something new that was developed, or is it just the old stuff that's rebranded? Because I know you like.
it's
I
not
mean,
just rebranded. It's been increased development as use data sources to obviously when we talk about artificial intelligence, we in a lot of cases we're talking about the collection of data sources. I mean, all these natural language processing things will review sources from places like Wikipedia and other online resources, and obviously those resources are changing, being updated all the time. Wikipedia being an obvious one.
have you ever heard of Zero?
Mm,
What about you, Mr. Robot?
Mouse click open to make
Huh?
a new
I
folder.
can't say I have.
Right click,
Um,
left
Okay.
click, double
So
click.
Mu Zero is another thing that DeepMind came out with. It's an AI that takes reinforcement learning and it goes like a step further. Um, and the way they do it is that, it's by learning to plan and make decisions in environments with unknown rules. Okay, so unlike AlphaGo and AlphaZero, which were trained with knowledge of like game rules and stuff, MuZero learned how to predict the future based on only raw data and experience.
yeah, but if you're going to predict the future, um, interesting thing about us humans is that we can be unpredictable.
Well, that's kind of what they're trying to get there, you know, because like this is actually a breakthrough because this is a computer or an AI system, okay, that can generalize across like a variety of tasks, and that's with no predefined rules. You know what I'm saying? So it can take and it can actually freaking generalize. So that is a pretty big deal.
Presumably, it looks at historical events, so it's got some predefined rules
No,
there.
absolutely no predefined rules
Or
whatsoever.
how? So, what is it basing its data on?
It does it on tasks and environments. So it's probably like you said, it takes and it searches out information and it creates its own rules.
Okay, so yeah, so there are. It looks at how civil wars have been created. There are certain rules in that. There are certain rules on how society has been won't say manufactured, but has developed.
Right. So this will actually be great because later on we can get into the whole um, how it's going to eventually be the downfall of all humankind and the utter
Potentially.
destruction. No,
Potentially.
I don't like the word potential. I don't like the word potential.
Well,
so
again, there's nothing that's set in stone.
Okay, now
We
Mr.
could
Robot,
be hit. We could
You
be
keep
hit
that.
by a meteorite tomorrow. The
give Mr.
entire
Robot, give Mr. Robot a time to talk. He's hyped up. He's actually got something to say.
Well, just to finish on the like, which we should definitely go there. We should go, and I do agree with Mark. Nothing's set in stone. I like to, um, hope for the best and plan for the worst. But just on the Google DeepMind thing, after AlphaGo, it turned into AlphaFold in 2020,
Mhm.
which made significant advances in protein folding and
Yep.
predicting the structures of virtually all known proteins, which is a huge step forward in structural biology. And, it means we can basically custom design cells, drugs, all sorts of stuff. Um, and then it turned into Google Brain in 2023, which further enhanced DeepMind's capabilities, combining resources to accelerate AI research and development. And I do believe that was around the time the Google engineer whistleblower came out and said that the Google AI chatbot became sentient. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
that's a
And
joke. That was treated as that engineer was a bit.
and then Google suspended him because he claimed the chatbot became sentient and was thinking and reasoning like a human being. And it put scrutiny on the capacity of and secrecy surrounding the world of AI. Um, the technology giant Blake Lemore on leave last week after, yeah, he basically published some transcripts from Lambda, language model for dialogue applications. I feel like they've like significantly dumbed down that AI since they've released it as Gemini and all that. Like
I
it's just so woke
again,
crap.
sentient is an interesting term, which has been argued by scientists and philosophers for many decades now.
Tell you what, it is actually hard sometimes to tell if an AI is faking it or actually reasoning.
I'm not going
Um,
to go there. I'm
I
not.
personally, from my research of this person, and I can't remember his name now, but from my research at the time, I just put him down as a crank.
Now, I'm not going to get into the whole subject of faking it, okay, because that goes into a whole different area, all right? But I can tell you that AI does lie to you. And me and Mark brought this up quite a few times. And one thing we do agree with is somebody still had to program this AI and like Chat GPT. They had to have programmed it to lie. It just didn't come up with a lie on its own. You know what I mean?
Hello,
Again,
Dave. I'm afraid I
again,
can't do that, Dave.
Yeah.
indeed. Again, there's the old acronym that is very popular in the IT world. The what you put in is what you get. I concept. If you're going to create a really poor piece of software, then expect poor results. If you create a poor model, then yeah.
Well, I think the
Look at
mistake we made is we
look at
actually started censoring the AI, and that creates a situation where it has to lie to us. And then you create a situation where we can't now trust it because it's designed to lie to us. You know what I mean? And it just becomes this huge conundrum. Like, yeah, that's why I'm totally against supporting any censored AI. I get that there's safety issues and stuff, but it when you follow that down to its ultimate conclusion, the best way to get alignment with AI is to, work with it in a way that it doesn't need to be deceptive with us. That's my view.
Again, you're talking about natural language processors.
Yeah.
Which again, arguably isn't AI in the first place, but there's a wide argument. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, we don't censor any form of artificial intelligence, and so we don't. So we could see genocides being committed. We could see like Roger said, the end of humanity.
Well, I would say, think of it as a child, right? If you're training a child, you're not going to go feeding it data of the most horrendous shit you can find. You're going to feed it like good, positive stuff that is going to help it learn, help it become a functional human being. You know what I mean?
That's
So
the
I
issue.
just think
Have you seen academia? In
I'm not
last 10
talking
years.
about.
10,
I'm
20
talking
years,
about
yeah.
I'm talking about the way it used to be in the good old days, not
Back in the good old days. Okay, so since you brought up the information that's being going to be added, that should be positive instead of all the garbage and stuff. Okay, now we were just talking about reinforcement learning. Okay, now let's talk about transfer learning. This is another part of it that's going on with DeepMind, where it explores transfer learning. And this involves like applying knowledge gained from one task to another or related tasks. Um, this enables like AI models to generalize better across different environments and applications, rather than requiring training and scratch from scratch for each new problem. So that means they can basically go from application to application, and they can go from different environments to environments. That means different platforms. That means different phone apps. They can just pull out all this information, okay, and they can use these AI models to generalize, come up with their own freaking shit. You know what I mean? So they're going to be finding all of this stuff, and usually it's going to be gathered on programs like Chat GPT or the chat AIs that you guys use. You know what I mean? And it's eventually going to be filtering in there. So you're going to get this AI that is saturated with the good, the bad, the ugly, the indifferent, everything. It's going to have all this information.
So on a society basis, we've got problem generalization at the moment, haven't we? Look at the AI concept, that likes to group people into specific groups. You are trans, therefore you must have this idea. You are black, you must have this idea. You are white, you must have this idea. And it destroys the concept of individualism.
Yeah.
Again, it's a form of extreme socialism.
Well, actually, you're saying that AI is racist.
I'm saying that it's in the concept that you are suggesting, that is it's sort of pushing the sort of group identity sort of thing, and again removes the concept of individualism.
Right. And again, when it comes to generative models as well, okay, now generative models are algorithms that can create new data also based on like existing patterns. Okay, now these generative models are used to create like realistic images, sounds, and videos and stuff like that. And like with you when you were talking about the aromas, you know what I mean? So that comes from generative. That comes from scratch. Um, this is closely related to like generative adversarial networks, which is GANs. And I don't know if you guys know anything about that, but it's basic synthesizing data is what it is. You guys know anything about all that stuff?
I get the concept.
GANs? Is that
Yeah,
what it's called?
yeah. GANs.
Gener-
Yeah,
Generative Adversarial Network?
yeah.
I'll just have to. I don't know. I feel like I've heard it before, but I'm not sure. GAN is a class of machine learning frameworks and a prominent framework for approaching generative artificial intelligence. The concept was initially developed by Ian Goodfellow. In a GAN, two neural networks compete with each other in a form of a zero-sum game where one agent's gain is another agent's loss. Given a training set, this technique learns to generate new data with the same statistics as the training set. For example, a GAN trained on photographs can generate new photographs that look at least superficially authentic to human observers, having many realistic characteristics. Okay, so that's how they generate new stuff from the same stuff.
Again, this goes back to my argument. Is this actually artificial, or is this a form of intelligence? Pattern recognition is. Can you argue that pattern recognition is a form of intelligence?
It's actually a form of geomancy. I've actually done research on this. This goes, facial recognition is where you look at it and see. This has for hundreds of, if not thousands of years, it's been associated with geomancy, where they've been trying to get rid of it, trying to eradicate it in the scientific world, but it keeps popping back up.
Can you define it? I
I
don't know what you mean.
I had it on Into the Abyss on another show that I've done, but like how this really all started before even computers was there was a guy who he was in the police force back in the 1600 no 17 or 1800s. It was some time sooner or here more recently, but he had this theory that if he took all these pictures of criminals and he put them together and created one photo, it would show what the true criminal looked like. And when he did that, it actually made these people look better, like and the whole idea came from that. So what they're doing is they're doing basically the same concept, but they're using AI. Like this whole process is actually hitting off. It was considered pseudoscience at one time, and now
I know what you're talking about, but again, I'm down to the crux of it. I argue that pattern recognition isn't really intelligence.
I would say it is because intelligence is defined as acquiring, understanding, and using knowledge, where pattern recognition is, acquiring and using knowledge or understanding it at the very least. So I would say it's a form of intelligence for sure.
well, especially with things that they're doing with it too. Like they're actually blending it to the certain. Like if you want a person to look a certain way, it can actually go in and it can actually blend all of these images together so that you can get the image that you want.
But on top of what we were just saying, I would say intelligence isn't necessarily sentience.
Yeah.
systems can be intelligent without being sentient for sure.
Yeah.
Like,
Now,
I know a lot of people that are pretty damn smart, but they're still retarded. You know what I mean?
I mean, they're still sentient, though. You know what I mean? They're able to make decisions, and they're able to have emotions and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to go up to a person who's stupid and retarded and tell them that they're stupid and retarded either, right? You got that filter inside of your head that says that's not right, so you won't do it. At least I'm hoping that's the way you are.
Can machine intelligence have emotions?
Well, it all depends on what you think emotions are.
That's a bit of a cop-out time answer, I think.
Do you think emotions are nothing more than signals transmitted from your brain to your from one part of your brain to another?
I think emotions are more than that. It's sort of like an energetic phenomenon that also goes into the etheric. That's how people can feel each other's emotions and stuff like that. But I will say, just like emotional intelligence is a form of intelligence, but by itself, it's not particularly like sentient, or like it's not completely useful. It just in itself. You know what I mean? It requires more forms of intelligence, I believe, in a person at least to be useful.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it needs to be balanced with the intellect and discernment and all sorts of other forms of intelligence. That's what I'd say.
So,
reminds me of the old Latin cogito ergo sum.
I mean,
It's kind of like pattern recognition in a way, isn't it? Emotions.
now, you can't bail out on it, Mark, because I know you're all about terms and services, and you're really angry tentative when it comes to shit. So you got to tell me what the hell emotions are, man. This is like asking Spock, how do you feel? You know what I mean? So I mean, kind of give us your take on what do you think emotions are?
That's an interesting question. You could argue that it's just a chemical reaction, a chemical balance based upon external factors.
Chemicals are just like the mediators, though. Like, it also is a electrical phenomenon and a vibrational phenomenon. The part that
That's what I
science
mean,
doesn't
based
really
upon
talk about.
external factors. Yeah.
But I do think emotions operate on hardware, or like wetware. It must have something to do with our nervous system, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But it also transcends into what's the right word? Like into the ethers, So that's like the medium, kind of like how radio comes from a device, but it also transmits through the air.
I was thinking on the concept of a soul as well.
Yeah.
And
all cells have an electrical interface, and they also communicate with chemicals.
Can a soul be artificially created?
Yeah, but see, that's the whole.
Can a machine have a soul?
Well, I mean, let's get into that. What is a soul?
Yeah. A cell is a bunch of organelles that are encased in a membrane, and the membrane.
As in the religious concept.
Yeah, we're talking.
Sorry, not cell. Yeah, soul.
Soul, SOUL.
Oh, soul. That's an interesting one.
Yeah.
So I mean, let's think about that. I mean, everybody's throwing the word soul around now. What exactly is the soul? Watching sci-fi movies where a guy gets brought back from the dead, and he doesn't have a soul anymore. That's just sci-fi. I mean, nobody really knows what will happen if a person is.
I, I thought about this for a while, and I didn't actually used to believe in a soul. I was more of like an atheist kind of scientific person, but nowadays I do tend to think that the soul is sort of like a metaphysical manifestation of consciousness. It's sort of like a spark of consciousness that transcends the physical plane,
Mhm.
and it's sort of where we come from before we're born. Like, I really like the concept of like there's the universal soul or the universal consciousness, and that breaks down into like oversouls, which are like collections of smaller souls, and those smaller souls basically incarnate into physical beings. I do think there's something like that going on because of the things we've seen with like spirits and entities and incarnations and reincarnations and all this stuff. Like, it's been so widely reported and experienced. I think there's definitely some kind of phenomenon going on.
It's interesting. I've been trying to figure out some of the stuff that I was talking about that was supposed to be from back in the day whenever they were doing the facial recognition things, but I cannot um, find anything for it. I had it on there. It was actually a topic that I had in Into the Abyss is what it was, but I always keep my talking notes
I
afterward.
know the individual that you're talking of, but again, I can't remember the name.
You know,
Like you, yeah, I can't remember who that person was.
it's like I've even gotten into stuff like a Vocaloid and things of that nature. But this right here is what actually, um, well, actually, Vocaloid is something that's kind of interesting too. Uh, I don't know if have you guys ever heard of Vocaloid?
You're gonna have to define it.
Um, Vocaloid, well, it's been a while. It's a software. It it's a music creator. It
Hmm.
is basically what it is, and it produces and releases songs independently, which they got that when it comes to AI. You know, um, and but back in the day, um, it was actually Vocaloid that was all big about that. You know what I mean? It could generate voices. It could make freaking songs for you and stuff like that. You couldn't make it. You couldn't distinguish between the voices if it was a real human or if it was synthetically created and everything. Which I thought that was actually pretty cool. And then they
Yeah, I played with that a little bit. It's really fun. They locked it down a lot more now. You used to be able to train it on anyone's voice. You can make it say anything, but recently people have been weaponizing it to like scam people and swat people and do all sorts of nasty shit. So there's
yeah.
always a few people that ruin it for everyone.
Yeah, I know. It's like those were the fun days whenever you could play around with it and everything and do what you wanted to do and things like that.
Yeah. I still have a Darth Vader voice that I've got trained up, so, and Rick and Morty.
Yeah. But um, I could not find the other one that I have. I might be able to find it later on, but I do want to actually get back to that and start discussing it. That's one thing that really did stand out to me today with all of it. You know what I mean? When it comes to the whole facial recognition part of AI, I think that a lot of people don't realize that a lot of this technology has been around for quite some time. It really has, and don't be fooled by it. It's just they, like Mark said, it's gotten better. You know what I mean? So
You
Yeah.
reminded me of a story a couple of years ago, and have created a Minds post on that in relation to UK police force using so-called facial pattern recognition, and it was getting sand dunes mixed up with faces.
well, I mean, it's bad. It's shitty freaking AI users is what that is, to be honest with you. It's like if you like Mr. Robot, he makes decent AI. Satori D makes some pretty good AI, you know what I mean? But like the majority of people that I watch on YouTube and all of that shit, and even on minds.com, they do a pretty shitty job, you know what I'm saying?
When you saying AI, exactly what do you mean? Oh, as far
Visual
as
intelligence.
stories, not images.
Yeah, all of it. I mean, well, the videos and the images. You know what I'm saying? Because like the one thing that like, because I like to edit video. You know what I mean? Manually, I like to edit video. So when I sit and I see freaking people putting like complete nonsense on an AI video and they don't edit it out to make it look good, I pick up on that. I see that. Where I understand like ordinary people who don't edit video, freaking they don't really give a shit. They don't notice it. But I do, you know what I mean? It's like freaking they like this whole looping thing, you know what I mean? Don't create an AI where freaking the same shit's being looped over and over again.
I'd love to learn to make the ones that just continually morph and zoom in further and further. You know, I haven't gotten to that yet. That'd be
Actually,
awesome.
I just found out just remind myself the desert pictures, the sand dunes. Back in 2020, the UK, I think, Metropolitan Police Force wanted to use what they termed as artificial intelligence to spot porn, but the framework that we're using were mistaking porn as mistaking desert pictures, so pictures of sand dunes and sand as nudes.
See, that's kind of cool. I could go for that. I love nudes. I love nudes.
Do you like sand dunes?
Oh, sand dunes. I thought you said
Yeah.
nudes.
Yeah, no, keep mistaking sand dunes for nudes.
Well, I mean, I could see that with the wave of the sand.
Nudes on the dunes. You know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like a lot of people do compare the Sahara as a woman, you know, because of the curves. If you're from that region, you know what I'm talking about. You know, a lot of those Arabs, they love them women, dude, on the boons.
Curvy dunes.
Now, Tanhai Tran said in chat, he says,
Yeah,
"Man, I totally forgot about today. Sorry, guys." And then I said, "No problem. We're holding out on your topic tonight." Yeah.
Well, we really we're covering it now, really.
No,
Okay.
not really. This isn't even the good stuff. But now, do you guys want to come back on Thursday with Tan and cover the AGI and get that?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what his take on some of the subjects that we've talked about today, actually.
Because this is technically the reschedule for going to do last week, but we had to postpone it because Tan was off on his vacation with sexy women and didn't have no time for us computer nerds. He he had to go on a sabbatical. And
Poor bastard.
poor bastard. But anyhow, do you guys like my picture? I'm gonna try to find the one I had for Mr. Robot that really isn't all that good with the hat, and I'm gonna try to fit that in there too, to where Mr. Robot's hanging out and being cool with all the homies.
Yeah, I want to be in there. I want to get in on that. I need an avatar too for this thing. And
The facial look that I've got.
I
Super
love it,
scary.
dude. I love it. It's like
Feels like it's sucking out my soul.
you know what you look like? You look like one of those old Puritans from the freaking 1600s, dude. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Yeah, I've new like set. I'm standing there like that. Reminds me of that. What's the famous picture of the old man and old woman in with the farm behind it? Very thin looking old bloke.
well, there's actually a, a whole a thing behind that now with Rumble Studio. They're saying that freaking for the person who's doing the stream, he has to at least have an avatar of himself on the stream if he's not live streaming himself. So I went ahead and I put this in place here, and then later when I can find Tans, and I can put his in, and I'll put Mr. Robots in, and anybody else who wants to join in. You know what I mean? And we can have a freaking avatar set up in that background where it looks all cool and shit, you know? And I was like, yeah.
I think I have to repose for my avatar. Even
Well, I
though,
mean, I like that, dude. I like it because you look like what's a good Puritan name? Like don't come up with something stupid like Jacob, or like it's got to be Josephus or Josiah. You look like Josiah.
that's too Roman. Should be something British, you know, like Harry Hogsbottom or something like that.
Harry Hogsbottom. You know, it's like he's the Potter, the Potter family.
yeah,
From old Salem, you know, the Potters. The man who started the witch hunt. The Salem witch hunt was started because of Potter. His daughters claim that she had saw witches.
I was having a conversation with Andrea must have been a couple of months ago now, and for some reason I came up with a very new name for myself. It was something on the lines of Montgomery, Smythe, Jones, something. It was a double-barreled sort of weird sort of.
Okay, so that would be a new contest that we are going to start up for anybody who's watching and wants to be a part of this. Let's determine what the best nickname for Mark Edworthy would be. But the conditions are it has to be a name that relates to old British Puritans. And it's got to be like a strong Puritan name.
Click on the desktop computer.
That's a good name. Thank you.
So with that, before we leave, you guys got any final thoughts? Because we're finally at an hour and 24 minutes, which I think by now everybody's pretty sick of our shit.
I would just like to say that we're still in the early days of artificial intelligence, and I don't think there should be like a mad rush to the top like the bloody Trump and China is trying to do right now. I think we should rather take it slow as a species rather create like specific AIs rather than general AIs, and go safety first. But
Okay.
yeah, that's all I have to say about that for now.
And this Thursday we will be back to go over a lot of that. That's going to be a big topic whenever we bring that up, because that's something that I do want to bring into the conversation as well with a lot of the stuff you just talked about. So come back again in 2 days. It'll be your Friday and my Thursday. So let everybody know more about you, because we don't get too many chances to have you on any of our shows, Mr. Robo. Now we're having it more often, but like let everybody know how they can contact you and stuff.
You can find me on Hacker Radio on Element, or you can find us on the official Minds.com Element channel. Feel free to come spam in there and you'll find us. Yeah, up to you, Mo.
All right. And you're also Illuminati on Rumble, and you have Hacker Radio on Rumble too.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, so is there any more aliases you're going by that you feel free to let everybody know about, or are you done?
We'll go with that for now. I'll
Okay.
reveal the rest as we go.
I'm a part of the elite, though. He actually allowed me to see his face. I know what he looks like, guys. Yeah, that's right. I know what Mr. Robot looks like. It was a while ago, so I might be foggy in my memory, but I did get a look of him. So, what about you, Mark? Give everybody your information.
I think I'll just stick with the minds.com. So, yeah, minds.com/Medworthy.
All right. And you guys can check me out on Minds. I am on there as Roger_Hanson. I don't really like the platform, but I'll talk to you if you send me a message. You know what I mean? And other than that, I'm on X as well as Roger. The hell do I go by? So,
I don't know, you've got so many aliases these days.
I believe it's at ROGLOL1973, and my name on there is Roger Hanson. As well as that, I am on Element 2. We've got Live with Roger Hanson and Wow Talk on there, as well as all the other ones. You can catch me on that. I am on Skype temporarily, but we are not going to have that after, what is it, May?
Well, they're starting to close it down in May. I've not seen any sort of official roadmaps.
Yeah. So it will be shut down in May, but they don't know exactly how many or when. So actually, I forgot to freaking change. Okay, so I forgot to change the freaking information on Twitch, but I'm on Rumble, X, DLive, Twitch, Twitter, whatever, YouTube, all that stuff. So if you guys want to check us out, you can check us out on any of those platforms. Remember to like, subscribe, share, make comments. Definitely leave comments, because we are a bunch of fucking losers and we don't have friends. So if you leave a message, that's right. If you leave messages, man, at least you got some losers who's willing to freaking talk. Okay, so you need to be cool and shit, and like say, hey man, I want to be cool to these losers, and just leave a comment in the comment section, because if you don't, we will have nothing that we can do at all. We will have nothing to do for the entire week, because nobody wants to comment in the comment section. So, do you think I did a good plug on that? And do you think that works? Mark, does that sound good?
I'm just going to say that I've got multiple friends, allegedly, real world friends, allegedly.
Yeah, right. Nobody believes you, dude. Freaking Mr. Robot just gave his credentials and bailed. You see that shit? He's like, I'm fucking out of here, you bunch of losers. Yeah. Damn. Okay, so I made it past an hour and a half. We're good. So with that, I'm going to end the show. Thank you guys for watching and have a good night. And talk to you later.
Indeed.